What's that phrase? It's the hope that kills you. Well, there's always lots and lots of hope and optimism at this stage before a ball has been kicked, but we are very close to the start of a brand new Gallagher Premiership season, and I cannot wait. So here is a bit of a preview of the English Premiership before the season begins. Some of the runners and riders. I'm going to tell you who I think will win the tournament. I'll tell you who I think will make the playoffs, and I'll run through some of the big signings in the division so far. I'm Tim and this is Egg Chasers. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up and leave your comment down below. Now, there is a massive surge in popularity when the English national team play, but I have to say, if just the numbers on videos and stuff is anything to go by, the Premiership is not quite attracting the interest that I would love it to. So if you love the Premiership, then again, share this video. Give it a thumbs up and all that stuff, because it really does help. And let's tell people how good this competition is. A 10-team competition. I say, if I'm being honest, there is like, for every great positive, there's a kind of negative, which is balancing the scales a little bit. We've heard all the chat recently about English clubs sitting around a table and going, should we try and maybe get involved in the URC, create some kind of British and Irish league, perhaps? And that is because whilst this tournament is so good, so competitive, really, really exciting to watch, it does have some limitations, and it's fair to acknowledge those. So the 10-team league continues. 3 teams went bust a few years ago now. It's consolidated itself as a 10-team league. That means, and this is the positives, it's a shorter season, so there's more rest time, which was always one of the issues with a domestic league, and the impact that would have on players and their freshness for Six Nations, for summer and autumn internationals. That's not a problem anymore because there are that many fewer games. The negative of that is the clubs are struggling financially because of the hit that gives them to their matchday revenue. Consequently, most teams are, during the Six Nations, for example, putting on loads of friendlies. So the games are happening, they're just not league games anymore. So that is a factor. All the games this season are going to be shown on TNT Sport, which is great, big positive. Every single match will be shown. The negative, TNT Sport, whilst they're continuing with the Premiership, weren't interested in the Champions Cup, meaning that either the Champions Cup or the Premiership, or possibly both, are going to take a bit of a hit this season. That remains to be seen. The positive, this is such a competitive league. The salary cap structure makes that the case. The negative is that's kind of been done a little bit at the expense of the league below. It's clear that the people running Premiership Rugby want to have a ring-fenced league with no promotion relegation. They just don't seem to have the guts to actually admit that. And so what they're doing is running the teams in the league below into the ground. And, well, they're in a situation with 3 teams having gone bust, and Jersey, if you count them as well, 4 teams. They cannot afford another Premiership team to go bust. And consequently, the RFU are effectively, I would read it, propping up the league financially, subsidising these teams with the new professional game agreement they've come into. So anyway, like I say, there's yin and yang, there's light and shade, there's positives and negatives. Overall, I love this competition. Let me run through each of the teams, starting with Bath. The beaten finalists last year. They haven't made many signings, but they don't need to because they have got a stellar squad, which they have kept together for the most part. And this has to be Bath's year. That I think everything is lining up for them to be serious contenders, and I think they are the favourites. They should be favourites going in to the season. Ross Maloney from Leinster is a smart signing in the second row, although they haven't actually picked him for the opening game of the season because they've got a stacked team. Guy Pepper from Newcastle, again, don't need him. He's one for the future, but yeah, I think Bath will be sat there thinking under Johan van Graan, if he were being honest, they have to win it this year. Bristol, one of the most fun teams to watch, and they have found their mojo again. It always feels like 3 years ago now when Harlequins won it and they beat them in the semi-final. Bristol were like 28 points to 0 up and Harlequins somehow managed to win it in the second half. And it felt like Bristol have taken about 2.5 years to get over that. But the second half of last season, they went back to that DNA of all court, all attacking rugby. And it is paying off for them with guys like Gabriel Ibitoye at the 4, the hookers like Harry Thacker just tearing it up. They've got such a fun team to watch. They've signed Bill Matter. Magnus Bradbury's gone the other way to Edinburgh. Kyle Sinclair's gone to Toulon. But really, I think if AJ McGinty and Bernard Janssen van Rensburg stay fit and play most of the games, Bristol could be in business. They are going to be a lot of fun to watch. Exeter, I tell you what, the surprise package of last year and how much can they build on the rebuilding job that Rob Baxter already did, well under the salary cap in terms of their spend. So they've got the space to keep these young guys that Rob Baxter's shown a lot of faith in. They exceeded expectations last year. Henry Slade is going to be out for the first couple of months of the season, which is a concern. They've also lost a really promising prop, Nika Abeladze, to Montpellier, but they have signed Tamaiti Tua at centre, who can cover Slade's absence for a bit, but will guys like David Jenkins, Chris Chunza, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, young guys that we didn't even know about really until a couple of years ago, or even sooner in the case of Faye-Waboso, and they could be standout Premiership players. So they should be optimistic. I love what Rob Baxter has done at Exeter. He is an absolute star. Gloucester, tough time for them. Yeah, they won the Premiership Cup. They got to the Challenge Cup final, but they were 9th in the Premiership, second bottom only to Newcastle, and they look a bit underpowered. They have signed Christian Wade. They've signed Gareth Anscombe and Thomas Williams, so the kind of spine of the team is going to be good. I just don't think their front five is going to be good enough and deep enough to win them enough Premiership games. But are they going to change the way they play a little bit and open up and play more expansively in the way that I was talking about Bristol doing? That might work for them if they do. Confidence and depth are the two factors for Gloucester. I don't expect them to get to the playoffs. They could get top 6 if they go well, but I think that they're going to be in that bottom third of the table. Unfortunately for them, that would be my prediction at this point. But I'll come to predictions overall. Let's just give you a headline view at the minute. Harlequins, TT Lamosatelli's come in from Montpellier. Wyn Jones has come in, so they've signed a couple of props. That could bolster them. And then they've got a bit of dynamite as well with Rodrigo Isgro coming in from the Argentinian Sevens. I mean, he could be absolutely electric, especially in this Quins team if Marcus Smith can get him the ball in space. But how are they going to replace Andre Esterhuizen? That's the big challenge for Harlequins. He's almost irreplaceable. Very few people can do what he does. And the ones that are there get paid a lot of cash. And so are beyond the means of most Premiership teams. That's going to be the big challenge. How good is Marcus Smith as well without Andre Esterhuizen? We're going to find out. Because he was so important for that Harlequins team. But they'll be contenders. Leicester Tigers, Michael Cheika is in. And how much difference can one man at the top make? I think probably quite a significant one, because when you look at the talent in that Leicester Tigers squad, it is stacked with internationals. They've added to that with Isaiah Parise from the Waratahs, Nicky Smith from Dragons, is it he came from? And Cornet Beats, the number 8 from the Bulls, young up-and-coming number 8, but he's no Jasper Wiese, who has gone to Japan. The only big loss, really, for Leicester Tigers. I think they will do a lot better than they did last year. Newcastle Falcons, not so sure about Steve Diamond's ability to turn things around from last year. One thing I will say, right, so I used to have, you may or may not be aware, I used to have a role on BT Sport before TNT Sport took over the broadcast rights for the Premiership. I was a reporter, so I'd be the guy asking the questions to the directors of rugby. Michael Cheika and this guy, Steve Diamond, make me want to be doing that job again. Because they're so much fun to interview. Such big characters. It's great for the Premiership that they're both in there. And I would make sure I was tuned in for the pre-game when Leicester play Newcastle, because that will be dynamite with the two of them going head to head. Cannot wait for that already. I'd take that gig back for that match in a heartbeat. He's got a big job on his hands though, Steve Diamond. He's been speaking very positively, like they're not going to finish bottom. I think they are going to finish bottom. I think they are. I mean, it will be a miraculous job if Steve Diamond manages to get them off the bottom of the table, given what they're spending, the players they've lost. Phil Brantingham to Saracens, Guy Pepper to Bath, as I've mentioned. Those are guys, future stars for the club. It is a bit of a buyer's market at the minute. You can find a bargain, and if anyone's going to find value in some players that are on the scrap heap elsewhere, it will be Steve Diamond, but don't hold out much hope. Saints are the champions, and they're going to be there or thereabouts this season, aren't they? No big signings. Josh Kemeny coming in from Australia, was it Melbourne, to replace kind of the job that Courtney Laws did, and he is starting in that 6 jersey in the opening game, so let's see how he can get on. But that's it. Ludlam, Laws, Waller, all lost by Northampton Saints. That's basically the leadership trio of that whole squad. How much can Furbank and Freeman and Finn Smith and Alex Mitchell and co, how much can they take the reins as leaders and keep the wagons rolling? They're going to be brilliant to watch. Will they have that bite in their pack without Courtney Laws, without Lewis Ludlam? Massive season for Tom Pearson. He needs to fill some of those shoes. I think there'll be challengers. I've just got this feeling they won't be quite as good as last year straight away because of the loss of leadership that they've got in that side. Sale Sharks, if they can keep everybody fit, they might have the best pack in the entire league. Especially those back row. The Dupree twins, the Curry twins, just those 4 alone. You can't fit them all into a team, or you could put Jean-Luc Dupree into the second row, but man alive, the talent. And they've got other guys besides. Wazea Nyathalevu has come in at centre, kind of a replacement for Manu Tuolangi. I think, you'd have to assume Nyathalevu will get more games than Manu Tuolangi manages in a season due to his, constant injuries he had on and off. So that could improve their team, if anything. Rob Dupree, I suppose, is going to get the 12 jersey, I guess. We'll wait and see on that. But George Ford pulling the strings at fly half. I like the look of Sale Sharks. They're my local team. And with the players they've got, I might go along and watch a couple of games. I was actually asked when I was on the box office show with John de Villiers and Scout Berger a week or so ago. I was asked, who's your team? And they did. John de Villiers in particular was like, what? You don't have a team? No, I don't have a team. Because I used to play on a Saturday, and if I did have a team, it would have been London Irish because my brother played there, but they don't exist anymore. But Sale Sharks are my local team. I don't support them as such, but I'm quite up for watching them this season because I think they're going to be quite good. And finally, Saracens. Big job for Mark McCall and his new captain, Maro Itoje. New players, a new era, a new dawn. No Owen Farrell, no Mako Vunipola, no Billy Vunipola, no Alex Lewington, no Sean Maitland. But they do have Ben Earl, who's going to push that team on. They do still have Maro Itoje. They have Jamie George from that class of 2008 that were just cleaning up and winning everything as well. And they have lots and lots of good players. And I tell you what they do have, they have one of, if not the best coaching setup in the land. The ability to develop players. Look at Theo McFarland going from an unknown player in US Major League Rugby to one of the best second back rows in world rugby. That's down to the work the Saracens put in. They can turn a rough diamond, or whatever the analogy is. I can't think of what the words are. They can buff up a diamond in the dirt, make it a beautiful gem. There you go. Got there in the end. And can they do it again? Yes, I think they can. Will they do it this season? Not convinced about that. If I had to kind of predict where I think this one's going to go. Saracens have got Phil Brantingham, Fraser Balmain in, Fergus Burke, the replacement from Owen Farrell. Bit of an unknown quantity there. They've also got Louis Johnson from Newcastle, who's a fly half, but they're not Owen Farrell. So if I had to pick a top 4 at the minute, the teams out of these 10 that I think are going to make the playoffs, I think it's going to be Bath. I think it's going to be Sale. I think it's going to be Northampton Saints and Bristol. Those are my 4. It's Bath's year. If they don't win it this year, it's been, what was the last time they were in a final before this one? They were in a final just gone. They were in the final in 2005? So there was, 19 years between finals? It can't be that long. No, it can't be. 2015, 9 years between finals. Yeah, if they don't win this year, will the team start breaking up? It's hard, because of the salary cap, it's hard to keep teams together for too long. Will the team start breaking up? And could it be another 9 years before they get another shot? Maybe. I think Bath are going to win it this year. But I would say Sale are probably my second favourites. And then Saints and Bristol, with the type of game they play, just in those months of April, May, June, they can just tear it up on fast tracks. So I'd never rule them out. Right, there you go. My thoughts on the Premiership. Bring it on. Let's bring on the rugby. And as well as all the international rugby, yes, I'll be having plenty of updates from Premiership, from URC, Even the Currie Cup final this weekend, isn't there? So lots of reasons to make sure, if you haven't already, you hit subscribe on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.